Happy Independence Day and welcome to this special edition of the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. As the nation celebrates on this 4th of July, we focus tonight on one constitutional right in particular that makes our country great, and that is freedom of speech, granted to us under the First Amendment. Unfortunately, today, Americans in growing numbers are being silenced, banned, and censored, especially by big tech. One organization is working to turn the tide. The Media Research Center is keeping a running tally of specific instances in which people are being censored online, and they're tracking how that censorship contributes to media bias. My guest tonight is Michael Morris, Managing Editor, Free Speech America at the Media Research Center. I asked Morris to first tell us what the Media Research Center is.
The Media Research Center has been tracking media bias both in press, in print, online, and then also on television. We highlight the big three a lot of times in our studies and reports, and we've been covering it for over 30 years, holding big media. The liberal bias is astounding. We've been holding them to account for over 30 years now.
Michael, my understanding is that your group has a couple of initiatives. One is called Free Speech America, and the other is a site called Censorship.org. Tell me about those efforts.
Originally it was Tech Watch, and that was about 3 or so years ago. And then we rebranded to MRC Free Speech America because we felt that that was more what the issue truly was. It wasn't just about following what big tech was doing. It was about tracking their crackdown on free speech in America. Most of the tech companies that we monitor, your Facebooks, Instagram, Twitter, these big corporations like Google and Amazon, they're American corporations that should be beholden to the principles that are found in America under our First Amendment, that's free speech, and yet they're not. And so we rebranded to MRC Free Speech America to help hold big tech accountable. I mentioned earlier that the Media Research Center has been monitoring media bias across online, television, and in print, but big tech is far more insidious. It is much worse. And that's why MRC Free Speech America was created, was to hold them to account.
It seems like there's been an encroachment on free expression, especially online, for some time now, but it seems like the crackdown became especially pronounced during the period before and after the 2020 election. Anyone who might try to argue otherwise is simply ignorant or maybe not paying attention to what's going on in this country.
Look, you're absolutely right. For the longest time, the left has been arguing that censorship flat out does not exist. Well, as a project of the MRC Free Speech America, we created Censortrack.org. Again, that's Censortrack.org, to actually tally and document cases of actual censorship that has occurred. And it proves once and for all that, in fact, censorship is occurring and that there's an immense amount of bias. The left likes to also suggest that the bias doesn't exist either, that in fact the left is being censored as well. But Censortrack.org shows that it's truly not the case. Bias exists, censorship exists. Censortrack.org is a great resource for conservatives, Christians, those on the right, those that are free thinkers, like your Joe Rogans of the world, that their information deserves to have a voice online as well. And that in fact, the left is attacking it. It's attacking free speech online.
The information I have is that Censortrack.org has documented more than 3,900 cases of censorship online. If you can, confirm for me those numbers and tell us exactly how Censortrack works.
Sure, you're pretty close on the number there. We're approaching nearly 4,000 censorship cases to date. And we expect if big tech all of a sudden doesn't turn off the water this week to actually hit that number. Our employees right now are working around the clock here to enter cases as they get reported to them. We have a contact form on Censortrack.org where people can actually go on and submit cases of censorship or suspected cases of censorship. We then go and try to document those cases with screenshots and other information that we're given. We also use other media outlets that report these things and try to find cases on our own when those that are online start suggesting that there may have been a case of censorship. We actually reach out to the big tech companies here recently. Donald Trump Jr. actually said online that he was getting censored. So we reached out on his behalf to find out if, in fact, if that was true. And sure enough, just going through Instagram, if you try to follow Donald Trump Jr.'s account on Instagram, there's actually a little warning label that pops up and suggests that maybe you ought not to follow Donald Trump Jr. And then if you try to share something with Donald Trump Jr.'s account attached to what you're sharing, it actually warns you that maybe, are you sure you want to share that? So this is the sort of thing that big tech does. And this is how we're able to sort of corroborate or find out, in fact, if there is a censorship case actually present, and then we will mark that down, do our due diligence, and then enter those into our censor track database. And sometimes we even write stories about it, like we did with the Don Jr. Incident that I just referenced.
My perception is that most, if not all, of the cases you're tracking involves the censoring of conservative, Christian, or maybe even libertarian viewpoints. Has Censor Track documented any cases where progressives or liberals are censored for what they're saying?
We have noted examples of liberals or leftist thought getting censored in the past. In fact, we did a study. It was 54-1. Republicans censored over Democrats. And the interesting thing about that is the one case where a liberal Democrat was censored actually got restored after a complaint was levied against, I believe it was Facebook at the time. And so even though it was 54-1, Republicans against Democrats, in other words, big tech was censoring 54 Republicans for every one Democrat. The one Democrat that got censored actually got the post restored after complaining to Facebook.
And I presume that your organization is just as adamant and works just as hard to protect free speech rights of those on the left.
Well, look, yeah, free speech isn't just for one side. That's the very nature of freedom, right? Free speech is for everyone. And how you win an argument or how you win a debate isn't by shutting the other side down like big tech and the left are trying to do right now, but it's actually to allow free expression, free ideas, the truth to get out. You don't win an argument by shutting down the other side. The answer to bad speech is not less speech, it's more speech. So shutting down the other side is never the answer. The true answer is free speech. And that's, again, precisely why we rebranded the MRC Free Speech America, because that hits more closely to home about what it is exactly that we're trying to do.
And I'd like to thank Michael Morris, Managing Editor, Free Speech America at the Media Research Center, for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. To learn more about the organization and their work, you can check them out online at mrc.org and another site, censortrack.org. Well, that will do it for this Independence Day, Monday, July 4th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review, and have a blessed and safe holiday.